Inside Hilltopper Athletics is brought to you by Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. Here's your host, Lynn Ullum.
Welcome to an impromptu version of Inside Hilltopper Athletics. I'm Lynn Ullum. I'm joined by ultra-successful head wrestling coach Danny Irwin. And although I'm not the boss anymore, I just called him and said, hey, can we do a quick podcast? And as always, he's willing to join us. And I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but we got a sweat-stained shirt here, Coach.
Yeah, more sweat from the other people than myself. You know, a couple guys up there getting after, and Tuesday's a pretty heavy day for us with guys coming in getting individual sessions in with the coaches, and there's nothing like that development time with our guys.
Well, one of the things that makes the podcast game, football and basketball are pretty easy because you play games, you're playing pretty much the same days every week. Wrestling, you have duels, you have open tournaments, it's kind of all over the place, so I appreciate you stopping in and chatting. So the last time we had you on here, we were getting ready to wrestle against Regional Power, University of Pitt Johnstown, coached by Pat Pecora. We had a huge night planned. So how did that go? Give us some thoughts.
Yeah, just what an awesome night. We had a ton of alumni back for it. Anytime you can get your own back to the Hilltop and talk about some of the fond memories they have, it's like they never left. And so for them to be here and for our current guys to see, hey, this is what our alumni look like. This is what's going to be expected of you, and 5, 10, 15, and 20 years down the road, that to be able to continue to find reasons to come back. And we gave our alumni some excitement that night to come back and want to come back some more with getting over the top of that hurdle and outscoring Pitt Johnstown that night in the duel.
So huge crowd. Huge crowd. Had some youth wrestling groups, high schools, and just the alums and fans. And it was kind of an electric atmosphere, and a great end result. So let's just kind of talk about the match.
Well, the fans, I think we set a new attendance record, something that we want to continue to build that kind of momentum and get people here to watch the product that we're putting out. And so that made it for an electric atmosphere. And I think unlike a couple years ago, our guys handled that kind of energy in the building really well. They didn't dump, mentally or physically out there, where they were very consistent from start to finish. And we racked up a number of big wins. I mean, that duel could have easily been the other way. We won close matches at 41, 49, 57, 65, and those go the other way. And we're probably not smiling too much on this podcast right now.
Yeah, well, the thing that I liked about it, and I've been a wrestling fan because I come from Cameron, West Virginia, which is had pretty successful wrestling squads, was the way that we were winning those matches. Guys coming back from some adversity and trailing going into the third period. So talk about mental toughness.
It's something that, looking back at some previous years of just training logs and so forth, that, we mixed some things up, with training leading into it, and I just felt like our guys were just that much better prepared, walking to the opening event. I think in years past, it wasn't so much our guys, it was me. And, so we took a real hard look at that, and Kyvon Grace, stayed gritty, had the energy, had the fortitude to get that takedown, and momentum's an important thing. Doesn't matter what sport you're at, and he shook that momentum our way. And a guy like Nico Taddy, who's used to wrestling with Kyvon every day, then goes out there and lights up the crowd with a huge win over one of the best guys in the country, and just stayed on our side from there on.
Did you have a chance to talk to Coach Pecora either before or after the match?
Yeah, we got a chance to talk a lot. Just something that anytime you get somebody like that back, I think it's a little different for us because he's got so many fond memories here, and with having his teammates back and people that he appreciates and loves. But for me, he's somebody that he's been there, he's done that. He's won national team titles. He's got as much energy as anybody, and I hope that I can have that kind of attitude and energy at his age, and just something I admire. And so anytime you get a chance to talk with a legend, you better take time to soak it in. So I appreciated some of that extra time I got with him, prior to the duel that night.
So how long had it been since we had beaten Pitt Johnstown?
I think it's been over a decade. I think maybe 2011, 2012. Something, I think same thing on the Mercyhurst side, that we hit heads with them my first year here on the Hilltop, and didn't get a win, and it had been a long time before that too, and so we've knocked off a couple dominoes here to start the season off.
So let's talk about the Mercyhurst match.
Well, I think I told some people walking into it, like, this is a trap duel. We're coming off in a big high of taking out somebody that we've been after for a while, and Coach Whaler, who spent some time on the Hilltop, just does a phenomenal job there. And looking at that duel, again, we had to grid out some matches in there, and but I really like where we're at. Something that 2 tough tests gives us, some of those execution points that we got to dig into in the room. And Kai Von Grace was right there with the number, I think, 3 guy in the country who was an All-American last year. And a lot of people probably didn't think that was going to be a close match, except for our program and our group of guys. And I think just the more we can get out of that, the better. But happy to come away with the result we did. We got Borsalino back in the lineup that night, which was huge to finish that duel off for us.
Yeah, it's pretty nerve-wracking there at the end, and that's what makes this sport really cool. Kind of, I don't want to say a predetermined ending, but basketball, because there's a clock, you're just waiting, or football, you're waiting for the time to run out. Well, wrestling, there's only this amount of matches, and you can look at the score and you can do your math. So that got pretty darn interesting.
Well, exactly. Unlike basketball, if they made let's say a half-court shot, the game could be over. That would make basketball that much more interesting. That's what happens in wrestling. That a lot of different things can happen, and with 10 guys going out there, they better fight, and they better fight hard, and those falls make a difference. And we were able to pick a few of them up, which I joked around with our guys about. Hey, we didn't get a fall the first duel. Let's see if we can't change that, and they made it happen. Who doesn't like a good fall?
Yeah, especially as fast as Borsalino.
Especially as fast as Borsalino's. I think that took the ref longer to get down there and call the fall than he actually was, and maybe it could have been a national record for fastest fall. But yeah, really liked what went down that night, and for us to be able to build that kind of momentum off of it.
Now here's kind of a weird question. How quickly that fall was, does that happen more at the heavyweight?
I've only had a few in my lifetime. The other one I think of
I'm not even saying as fast as that, but do you see maybe more pins in the first 30-40 seconds in heavyweight as opposed to other weight classes?
Yeah, I would say more. Sometimes those big guys, it takes them a little longer to get off their back. We've been on both sides of that in my lifetime coaching, and but yeah, I think you gotta. I think Borsalino tipped the scales at 283.5 pounds, and that's a lot of person to try to remove off you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk scheduling philosophy. What is your philosophy coming into any year? So you've already wrestled Pitt Johnstown, Mercyhurst. Is that by design, or how does that work?
Well, I think our schedule is extremely tough. I mean, unlike what people see, like the Power 5 football conferences scheduling 4 or 5 years out, where that's really hard for them to predetermine. There is some wiggle room in our scheduling. The big thing for us is putting each and every one of our guys out there, week in and week out closely to get a chance to develop, get a chance to compete, and just stay hungry. And I think that's been a true calling card of our guys over the years, is that we're just as hungry at the end of the year as we are at the beginning of the year. But if we can get our guys tested, and some guys will get tested more than others depending on how some of that scheduling works out, but that unlike some other sports, hey, everybody's going to go to the national qualifier, and how you wrestle that day is ultimately what matters. And so you could have a bunch of losses on the year per se, or a bunch of wins. It matters, are you prepared walking in, and getting to see those tough tests, and two, just walking into fun duels where you don't know what's going to happen. You're on the edge of your seat, and I think that's something that gets these guys prepared to shine, at the national qualifier and at the national tournament. Then when the lights are per se the brightest.
We're not going to spend time talking about Ty McGarry, but 2 pretty impressive wins from him in these 2 matches. Name one other guy on your roster, and again, we don't like to focus on individuals on these podcasts, but who has maybe been a surprise to this point?
Well, I think maybe the biggest surprise, surprises are hard to come by, but gosh.
See, I ask tough questions.
Yeah, that is a tough question. Honestly, there's probably 2 things I really like about what I've seen thus far. That Alec Cook has generally been a slow starter over the years, and the way he's looked, and albeit he got decked on Thursday night. That guy, that wasn't Alec wrestling bad. Just that guy wrestled really hard to some positions, but his mannerisms out on the mat this year, in that overtime win over previous national qualifier, he looked over at us, winked, like he was cool, calm, even when he was down a number of points against the Mercyhurst guy. His attitude was just very consistent, and that's a big reason why he was an All-American last year, and I think just a good spotlight for our guys to look to and go like, hey, that's how you compete. And if we consistently compete like Alec Cook did, whether we're ahead on the scoreboard or behind on the scoreboard, that's where we're going to make our gains throughout the year.
What do we have left here to wrap up this calendar 2023 season? What do we got the rest of the semester?
So this upcoming weekend we head to Findlay, which is always tough. We're going to see some of the best of Division II. We're going to see some Division I guys. Could be some high school guys there. All divisions are going to be represented. It's not seeded, so I know one year, several years ago, we had a returning national champion, and his first match at the Findlay Open was the guy he wrestled in the finals the year before. And the winner of that one had like the 5th ranked wrestler in the country, and then the next one. So you could have a really tough day right out of the gates, and just something that it's going to tell us a lot. It gives our starters a chance now to build through a tournament, and then we come back. We hit a couple Division I foes in Clarion and Drexel. That we're going to see some good matchups there. And then the always tough Findlay University. We head to their place the second week in December. Then we bring some really excellent teams to campus to close out the calendar year at the Hilltopper Duels from some of the best teams in Division III, some other Division IIs, and that's going to make for some fireworks in the ASRC to close out a wonderful 2023.
It's amazing how fast these semesters go. I hardly ever see my daughter because she's one of those nerds that gets like a 4.0 and studies all the time. And she said, well, Dad, I only have 3 weeks of classes left. And I'm like, what? Where did this semester go to? And coaching, it probably goes even twice as fast. Here's a question I've never asked you. Do you have a preference? If you could choose, tomorrow night we have a huge match, duel or tournament wrestling?
Well, I think a duel, anytime you can just line up your 10 best that night versus their 10, that people can hone in on that match, and if both competitors are out there laying on the line, that provides an atmosphere like no other compared to trying to watch 2 or 3 matches at the same time. So I love a good duel. I think that's one of the awesome things about West Liberty, that we have some great opponents within a pretty quick driving distance, and that it's like the Old West, where you're walking down the street and there's a gunfight that's about to happen, and you don't know what's gonna shake out of it. And that, as a coach, it's exciting. It's exciting to see how your guys are going to react to that. So by far, duels, throughout the course of the year.
I've watched a lot of Westerns in my time. I just saw, as we're shooting this, on the second level of the ASRC, so I apologize. We have basketball as our backdrop in a wrestling podcast, but again, we did this impromptu. I saw head athletic trainer Jerry Duncan walking down at the end of the hall. Tell us a little bit about the roles of athletic trainers specific to wrestling.
Well, I think that's one of the things. Jerry's been a huge part of our success. He's somebody that, tell our recruits, our alumni, just and our other athletic trainers have a great model in him that, we head to the hotel. He's like, hey, my room's open for treatment till such and such time. He's not a clock in, clock out, I'm going to bed, I'll see you guys tomorrow. He's somebody that's getting our team ready for our workouts, and then he'll get on a bike himself, and Jerry, he puts people down. He's put some of our most conditioned athletes down on a bike workout over the years. So, and he's just a ton of fun to be around. He wants to win, he cares about our guys deeply, and that's something that I appreciate about him, our entire AT staff, that they're fun to work with,
Well, and the reason that I brought that up is we're fortunate, and I coached for a number of years, and you're a coach, and for the coaches and student athletes, we get our moments. It's game night, and the media's here, and you're on TV, or we're doing podcasts, but we have a number of people in our athletic department who really don't get those nights to shine, that play an integral role in success.
Yeah. Well, and just for our athletes too. Some of our athletes over the years, their go-to person maybe isn't Coach Irwin or Coach this. It's Jerry Duncan. It's Abby. It's a number of people that they're the ones, putting that time in to help them get back on the mat or back on the court, and ultimately they're the difference, not the coaching staff at times, not maybe the athlete. It's the training staff with their knowledge and passion that, hey, this is your best route back to get back on the court, back on the mat, and so the role they play, we wouldn't be doing the things that we're doing, without them. That's for sure.
Well, I appreciate those kind of words about Jerry and the athletic training staff, and that's going to wrap up our impromptu version of Inside Hilltopper Athletics. Coach, thanks for joining us. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep compiling wins, and we'll catch back up with you here in a few weeks.
Yeah, it's exciting to see what our fall teams are doing, and our winter sports are off to a good start. You climb the hill.